So good afternoon, those watching the recording too. We're in a stormy Holland, and well, Bitcoin and the stock markets have been pretty stormy too. So let's take a look on that, what this week might bring us. So quite funny that now you see that the metaverse could be a serious problem for kids. And a few years ago, like 2 years ago, it was virtual reality. A few years ago, it was social media. And when I was a kid, it was Pac-Man. And well, we didn't end up chasing ghosts and munching candies all day. So I don't think that's it. But the interesting part is that it's now the big danger for kids is now the metaverse. So another step in adoption, you might consider that. You got a Pac-Man board game for Christmas. That sounds cool. Just reading the chat. I was not following that. Further on, FTX as exchange is now worth 32 billion, despite the bear market. Can you imagine what that will be in a bull market when we pick up again? So that's quite interesting. The constant Russia threat that has been a bit spooking out the markets also. Tech stocks, some are still being beat down, like Tesla and also Netflix, I think. So it's still a bit of a shaky day in the financial markets. And I don't think this week will be much different. But let's see, the European markets are pretty much some green, some red, but nothing majorly green or majorly red. US pre-market is also a bit mixed, around zero, slightly green, slightly red, a bit more red. Interesting though is that the Nasdaq is looking worse than S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. Sorry, Dow Jones is looking worse. So that might be a bit of a sign that people are switching a bit back into the tech stocks and leaving the old-fashioned value stocks again a bit. So that could be an interesting development there. So talking about developments, quickly scanning the economical calendar to see if there's any danger zones. Tuesday is relatively quiet. Some don't expect the ISM and the job openings to do much this year. European inflation rates could be interesting, but it probably doesn't move crypto market that much. I think news-wise, there are no big things. Maybe Friday on the unemployment rates, but don't expect much this week. So it should be a relatively quiet week, and that's usually the time where stock markets calm down in the sense of volatility and find their direction to go. So it might be a bit of a calm before the storm this week on the stock markets, and interesting to see how Bitcoin will follow or break out of that mood. At the moment, the altcoins are not happy. Let me just hide those. Did I miss USDC? Yeah, I got it excluded, you stupid website. Anyway, you see a lot of altcoins are in the red, some even 8%, but some are also a bit in the green. So it's a bit randomly, which has the love of the community and which don't. And if we take a look at the Bitcoin dominance, then it also pretty much the same picture. We bounced from that bottom that I've been looking at, the triple weekly bottom, Let's look at it on a weekly. There we go. There's the drawing with that lovely triple bottom on some harmonics. We are not at the entry point yet, though, but it is looking like it's ready to make a move soon, especially if you just connect the tops here a bit, then you see there is some work to be done for a really Bitcoin dominant move. But it is slightly going up the last few days. So Bitcoin strength is consolidating still sideways and making very small, tiny alt seasons when it's a leg down. But they don't last that long. And I don't see a really big alt season yet. Not before we take a nice Bitcoin dominance leg up and somewhere around that 60% region. And if we get rejected then at this 60-ish level, then we might see a really nice alt season in end of February, March, probably. That would be my bet if I look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. Let's switch to my normal begin point. DXY, US dollar. Perfectly called top by more hyper and TD sequential here with the reverse flags on the 8-9 count. And also it overshot the harmonic entry a bit, but barely didn't touch the stop loss. So close call, and it now seems to be rejected. And I really don't have any clue which this one will do. It has been behaving quite erratic, in my opinion. And you see that we broke out of these two, this double top here that did have a nice pull down. So the double top played out, but we got some resistance here by this box that has been here since bloody forever. And then we shot through. So it is likely that it will at least hit the top of that zone again, and then we will get an idea of what direction it will go. It all depends what happens when it goes down into this zone. Don't expect a huge breakout down up. So a bit of downside move for DXY is usually good for the Bitcoin price. Stock markets, are we open yet? Yes, we are. Opening slightly in the red. Nasdaq is still a bit delayed on this chart. So let's see if the volatility wears down in the coming 2-3 days, and then it picks a direction either down or up. It's a bit of nowhere man's land at the moment, this sideways consolidation. It's really hard to pick a side because the rejection of this support level was pretty nice. It bounced, but it's not doing any really follow through action. So if I had to guess, I think it will drop down to all the SPX around to 4K-ish levels. That would be a very logical area. Don't think the Dow Jones would drop that much. Usually people move them from the tech stocks to the value stocks. And the Nasdaq would probably end up somewhere around that 1300-ish. That's the next support level for the stock markets. But then again, it's when I have to choose, and I don't really see any edge or any clear clue on direction there. We'll have to see. Gold still going boringly sideways, at least on the weekly chart. Last week it was a bit down, but it didn't make on the weekly, not even a lower high. On the daily, it slightly below the previous low, but it's pretty much, for me, counts as a double bottom, because we didn't make the really support line here, nor the previous pivot point, and we bounced up pretty fast from there. So we're still in that mega structure, that symmetrical triangle that we are still in, and that's part on the weekly chart, at least, of this insanely big cup and handle formation that started in September 11, and it took all these years to play out. The real fun part is obviously when we hit this 1900-ish to 2K level, because last time we briefly went over 2K and got a big rejection and never managed to break it again. If we manage to break $2,000 and confirm it, then pretty much next target is 2,600 to start with. The Bitcoin daily chart itself, don't know if you saw it, but I just scribbled my prediction, very roughly gut feeling prediction on how the path to 100K will probably look if we hold this. Still expecting, seems to be in a channel, a daily. I'm expecting something around 44K-ish to be the next. Then confirming this bottom back to 34K, and then make a more zigzag move up, bit of a pullback to the middle again, and then continue upwards. But as I said, it's a gut feeling of how these patterns often develop, very roughly paint brush driven chart. But just for fun, I'll keep it on there so we can see if I'm right, if I was right later on. And I think everybody will be happy if we make it to these levels. If you look at the daily, the RSI is starting to be pretty interesting. So if we zoom in a bit, oh, what am I doing? If you draw a quick line and I'll fine tune it in a zoomed in. Let's make it a bit more accurate. You see, we've been on, RSI has been declining quite a bit. And we try to go over that line, got rejected, got rejected, got rejected. And now it does seem like it depends a bit on how you draw it, how you exactly anchor it. But in my opinion, this looks the most touch points, the most logical. You might be breaking on the daily RSI, confirming it and seeing a bounce. So RSI looks pretty interesting. And you also see the same picture on MACD, where we are now. Don't know if we really broke it. Yes, we seem to be making a bit higher positive momentum than the previous wave here. So this could turn into a nice upward move there. So the daily oscillators don't look bad at all. And obviously we have a divergence here on the bullish divergence on the double bottom MACD, while having a much lower low there. Also, we got some volume stars. Not really a big cluster, but on the daily, this is a pretty good sign. With the red candles dropping, then a pulse candle, then a green one with also the anomaly star. That could be signs of a potential bottom in price here. We're also at harmonic entries that you want to see confirmed with a double bottom, slightly higher low on the entry level. So that could take until quite a few weeks to play out, obviously. Might do this, but usually these accumulation zones take much longer than you like, and you're prepared to. Like here in the summer, it also took from pretty much the May accumulation, also took like a month, and here also already another month to bottom out here. So don't be surprised on that Pixie dominance we already looked at. Ethereum to Bitcoin is quite interesting, really. Don't think we can redraw this line without any problems. Still valid. Could put this on a little more. So slightly adjusted, but still very valid triangle. We have the touch 1, 2, 3, 4, one big touch, 5. Here the breakout that bounced and failed to bounce here. So a fake out on that one. Keep in mind this is the daily, so that was quite a while. But now we are back in that pattern and we're bouncing exactly from that bottom again. Pretty much the same as the Bitcoin price. Expect a bit of the rally that we've been having now to bounce back again to the bottom before going up again. The interesting part is obviously when we break this 0.80 level, then it's time to consider moving some Bitcoin hodl stack to an Ethereum hodl stack if we break, confirm, and bounce off. And if it's really clear pattern, I might even convert quite a lot of my Bitcoin hodl to Ethereum for a short period in time to catch that potentially gain. What's the potential gain? It's about almost 50% that Ethereum could gain in moving up compared to Bitcoin. So that's definitely worth a trade on that level. I'll keep watching that, and if I do, will for sure announce that in the channel if I'm moving from Bitcoin to Ethereum for a while. Well positions, long sideways, short sideways, no real exciting moves there. Total market cap, we did not by far reach that measured move from the head and shoulders. If you take the really conservative measurement from the top of the right shoulder, then we almost made it. But if you take the more common, then you take the breakout level, and there is more downside potential, but I'm hoping we don't see that, and I don't really expect it to either, I must say, because the current levels look like a perfect bounce point. We had those two accumulation zones here. We're just in the middle. This is a quite strong, the double green line is a very strong support level that we didn't even completely reach. So more and more it starts looking like are bottoming out there. If we quickly switch to my cycle charts, then you clearly see it. It's a different cycle than all the cycles before, when we had really distinctive peaks, and then sideways. We had previous cycle, we had big peak, then the bear market, and now we don't have that very discernible peaks that we had. We pretty much have a double top accumulation, where we are making lower highs, but we are also making higher lows so far. It could just be a very long accumulation pattern, and the peak has still to come. I think the current estimated next halving is 23 May, but I think the cycles are definitely lengthening. What's only confirmed if we make a higher high now. So I really don't feel, still doesn't feel like a really bear market. On the other hand, if we take a look at we got some Elliott Waves also here. We got the logarithmic. Let's move this out of the way. This I don't want here at the moment. It was just an experiment. The logarithmic curve zones. We are not at the bottom of the green yet, so we're still in the buying zone. We haven't broke out to the downside yet. But we also haven't reached that selling zone yet that we did reach in all previous cycles. So that is a bit contradictory. We are in the buying zone, but we haven't been in the sell zone yet. So that could just point into a long sideways accumulation, maybe even ascending triangle-ish. If you look at it on the daily or the weekly chart. Interesting enough, we did land exactly so far on my Fibonacci-based predicted bear market bottom. So that's quite funny. It's based on the Fibonacci's where the next bear market bottom is around the 618, and the top is at the 114 of the previous cycle. Also here at the 114 should be the top, and we haven't made that yet, but we are now exactly at the 618 of the previous cycle. On this one, and the same around here. This is was my bear market low prediction that we pretty much already hit. So kind of interesting to see that exactly this level is holding. All right, quickly switching to this one. Still not much change. Still haven't made really oversold, but it was very, very close. So it's enough close for me. Quickly switching to the again lines. Still this is the line to cross. This is a really important GAN line here that currently sits around 39.40. So far we are floating around this, what was it, July 21 zone. And I think we will break out up or down within the next, at least this week. We should see 40K or 30K probably this week if I base it on these on this chart. So it's pretty much picking, are we gonna hit this zone or are we going to hit this zone here? I think coming days will be decisive for that, especially if you do a bit of a if you try to draw at least. And you see it's pretty much also converging in the coming days. Where you also have the space between that major GAN line and that support box getting really tight. So wild guess 2 or 3 February. So that will be Wednesday or Thursday. I think we see the breakout of this triangle. So either 40K or 30K based on purely the support resistance zones and the GAN lines and the Fibonacci's there. So interesting week ahead. When you're sideways, there's not much use to look at those divergences and harmonics really. Just waiting for the previous ones to play out. And we just switch to my trading chart. Then the 4-hour really doesn't look too shabby. We did have a bit of a move down today with the CME gap filled, causing some pressure, but we also see pretty solid bounce of this previous. Quickly draw it in. We had the previous resistance zone around this level that we bounced here also, and we now not even made it, and we're already getting pushed up. So definitely some upsloping support there. 4-hour does look okay, but next candle will be important also that we don't have. It could become a 3 soldiers continuation pattern where you got to move down 3 very small candles in the other direction and then continue to move down. If it does, obviously, first target is 33K, next target is 30K. If we break up, pretty much the first target is 40K-ish, and then the 42K. So 4-hour looks okay, but it's pretty much coin flip for me. I don't see any edge or any indication of divergences of charts or anything that makes me pick a side up or down. So for me, I'm gonna wait. Will we hit 30K or 40K, and what happens then? The reaction of hitting those levels is probably my next trade. Not really looking at alts at the moment. You see it's also pretty messy, going up and down, and it's not very substantial move in Bitcoin dominance also yet. So I think we have to wait for Bitcoin to pick a side towards 33K, 40K, or 42K and 30K past that. Really don't see any edge in the chart that would give me the confidence to do anything yet. If you look at the 4-hour, what you could be getting here is a nice trigger wave, but it will probably be tomorrow if we get a decent move down, decent move up and break this level. That would probably be enough to make that trigger wave and exit the Bollinger Squeeze. So that would be a good sign to take a look at on the lower time frames. It is trying to bounce. The trigger wave is in the making here, but I don't see really anything to support that until we pick the direction it wants to go. Just looking here, there's no divergences on any of the oscillators there. I don't really see any edge there. So volume is picking up nicely. Yeah, you're right on that. There's definitely some movement. What's the market doing? US please. Nasdaq is doing not too bad actually. SP is falling behind. Dow Jones is also less in the red. Oh, that's quite nice. Netflix have a nice bounce in the green. What is the bonds doing? Yeah, nice double top, lower high on the 10-year bonds. Quickly going to grab one more chart. Money stock still going sky high. Money velocity bottoming out, but that's still the old numbers. Just looking for those. US bonds. You see a bit of a symmetrical triangle forming 50-50 in direction with slight preference to continue the move, but also at a pretty strong resistance point and onto harmonics there. I think doesn't seem to be having the push needed to reach these levels. So that's a good sign. People running to bonds is always a pretty bad sign for the economics. There is an argument for the weekly symmetrical triangle that we're trying to break out, but so far it hasn't bounced yet. So yeah, still don't see any edge. Some alts are looking okay, but you know, no matter how well they look, if Bitcoin decides to take the 33K or 30K route, they will, yeah, it doesn't really matter how good they look. And for me personally, if I don't have any edge in the direction of Bitcoin, I'm waiting for a better opportunity with the alts. And that time will definitely come if you look at the Bitcoin dominance for the market cap Bitcoin dominance. That one. If you see this bottom, it's just, you can wait for it to reach at least at that 60 level. What would be if Bitcoin have a very nice run up or down, you know, if alts drop faster than Bitcoin does, you have also the rise in Bitcoin dominance. And then, let's say Bitcoin goes up, then Bitcoin will go up as the stronger one at first, and then it will, then you'll have your reaction with the nice alt season. So the best times for alts are still to come, but yeah, definitely if Bitcoin goes sideways and you see an alt breaking out of a pattern, that's can definitely take shorter term trades. That's looking really nicely. You say near. Let's look quickly at the BTC pair. 4 hour. It might become nice. It's at the harmonic entries, like so many alts at the moment. You're in the 4 hour TD sequential potential reverse zone. I'm making a nice pattern there. So yeah, the chart looks great. think Fend and BTC also has done really well. There's a nice breakout against the Bitcoin dominance. So that's also looking really, really good. You said Uni. I'm currently just looking at Uni to BTC to know. I don't really like Uni swap at the moment because I made quite a much lower low. Depends on the follow-up price action on that. If we bounce up and confirm that higher level, then you could get a bounce. But so far it has been, compared to Bitcoin, not doing the best job in the world. If you're looking for outperformance, obviously, we're just looking at what outperformed BTC. USDT. Let's see.
Audio, sure. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I think my sound died, by the way. Yeah, I reconnected.
It did. You're back now.
Yeah, what I was saying, if you're looking at the BTC pairs, then it's very nice to see what is performing better than Bitcoin. Like on the USDT, this looks okay, but if you look at what's against Bitcoin, it's even better, and that's a nice clue for that. If you go Uni USDT on the 1 hour, it did a nice move, that's for sure. But it's still, you see on USDT, it looks pretty okay. You see higher lows, but if you look at it from a BTC perspective, it did have a very nasty drop. So yeah, it's a bit tricky with alts. They might go insane when they cross this level, but at the moment, if you're looking for outperformance, you see that this has been going up for quite a while already.